Should we start some FPL beef as well on YouTube? You know what I mean? To start slagging people off a little bit. There we go. Okay. Welcome to Wildcard FPL pod. This is my birthday present being on with you guys. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. John Sherrard.
Well, in goal, number one, I've got Onana. I just like the look of him. I like the look of him sharping at Harry Maguire during the week, and that cemented my desire to have him in there even more. Defenders, I've got Estupinian and Gabriel. I was kind of, do you get Gabriel or Saliba? I think they're the same price. Arsenal centre-back, necessary. And then I've got Chilwell on there as well, believing in the pocket defensive project. In midfield, I've abandoned my 5M midfield. There's only 2 now. I've got Bruno in there. I've got Rashford in there. Saka, Mbuemo, and Martinelli. So 2 teams represented a bit much there, maybe. And then up front, I've got. Oh shit! I've just realised I'm reading Alf's.
Yeah. I was going to say this does not look like the team I'm looking at.
Yeah, I was like, that's almost identical to mine.
there are way fewer M's in midfield in your team.
That was a practice. That's great.
Got that.
Okay, in goal, I've got Ramsdale. Defenders,
Rambo.
Trippier. Everyone's given up on Trippier. And I still believe in him deeply. Always have and always will. Saliba, that's the Arsenal centre back you want to choose. Estupinian. I'm Estupinian, keeping him in there. Shaw, home at Wolves. You know, he's gonna have a fun time in that first game. Likewise, Mbuemo at Spurs, he's going to have a fun game. So he's going into the midfield. Grealish, got to be starting for City. There's no one else, so he's staying in. Odegaard is my Arsenal midfielder, and I've been swayed by the stats. They're predicting he's going to be the highest scoring midfielder. Our good friend Eze, is he still playing for Palace? I haven't looked at them much.
You're still playing?
So he's going in.
He's a great choice.
Rashford, United, and then I've got Haaland up front. On the bench, I've got Leno in goal. I've got Mings to swap in for trips when things get tough. For Newcastle early on, I've got Alvarez. If Haaland's, it seems like we're going to play together, but I've got Alvarez to put in if necessary. And I've got Edouard for my third striker from Palace as well.
I think Eze is a good choice.
I think Eze will come out of the gates. And all this chat about Mbuemo kind of playing up front for Brentford and being on pens and stuff.
Is it Eze that I saw today might be going to Man City?
Please,
I
no.
think I saw a rumor about Eze to City.
Or
Is he a
was it
winger? Is he a
Elisa?
winger?
Yeah. No, he's going to take over from Mahrez.
They need a winger, so it makes sense. It's another really sensible Manchester City buy.
Yeah.
It's really irritating. He'd do fantastic there. So yeah,
He's awesome.
Grealish instead of Foden.
Grealish instead of Foden, just for the vibes, basically, just pure vibes driven. I think he's going to be on a high in the treble more than Foden is.
My thinking of Grealish is that he always seems to maybe be the guy behind the guy. I think he's a great player, Grealish. I really like him. He plays for the wrong team, but whatever. But yeah, is he got the same output in FPL terms that Foden does?
Is he always assisting the assister?
Does he? I think he ties people up in knots. He's great at dribbling. He really confuses people. Then he sort of creates all these gaps, and then he was like laying it into somebody who then curls it in, and Haaland scores.
Yeah.
He did chip in with assists and goals towards the end of the season, though.
Yeah, I think confidence is way up. He was quite candid in some of his interviews last season about how he was nervous.
Yeah, he said it's a bad year for him.
Yeah, bad year. Nervous about his 100 million price tag, and then in the Champions League final aftermath, he was like, sort of.
I am worth £100 million.
yeah, where he was like, oh, people kind of lower down the ranks at City had kind of supported him through the year. Sort of, I mean, it's a bit mental to have to get someone's confidence up at 100 million, but I think they've won the treble. Hopefully, he's just not like mortally hungover and 15 pounds heavier after spending the summer in Ibiza. But it seems to be very tight with Haaland as well. So that's why it's going in for me.
Cool.
The stats on Foden and Haaland, they've both got exactly the same expected points for game week 1, barring 0.1 of a point, if that makes any difference. And they're the same price. I think it just comes down to it's always got to come down to a bit to Pep Roulette, hasn't it? I mean, neither of them might get a game, but if they're both on for the same points and the same money, it's just dealer's choice, isn't it? Which one do you prefer?
I think Grealish. My take is that Grealish will start. I think Foden's a little bit more risky than Grealish. But like the move for me, if I was going to do it, like I haven't got either of them in my team. We'll get into that, but like the move for me would be either have neither of them or have both of them. That's what my strat would be with that. Just so you have that assurance, and as long as you've got someone decent coming off the bench, then they can cover if they don't play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Grealish will start. I think it's a good move. I think he's, like Pep was saying, that he's so essential to the team, and I don't think Foden's quite there in terms of that sort of bigging up from Pep.
Yeah.
If Foden plays, then he's probably going to outscore Grealish. That's the thing. That's the type of, because Foden just picks up points always, scores way more points. But
he's incredibly direct.
Yeah,
he just
exactly.
goes straight directly for the goal, and yeah, he might get fouled. He might get fouled for a penalty, and Haaland's on penalties who pick up penalty assists. And yeah, he's someone I think this could be. He's in. Yeah, we'll get into my team. He is in my team. I think he's. I'd have him over Grealish right now, but I think they're both really good players, and I think they will both play game week 1. So I don't think Grealish is a minute's risk right now.
Why don't you take us into your team then, Steve? That sounds like a good transition point.
Okay. So last season, I got really burned on just about every choice I made. I did some really bad things though, starting off. Like my goalkeeping, my research on my goalkeepers was terrible. I thought I was being really smart. I had in Danny Ward straight off the bat for Leicester because they just sold Schmeichel, and I thought brilliant, 4 million goalkeeper. I'm laughing, but then Leicester were awful. They were. I think they conceded 5 goals twice in the opening 4 games, and he was my goalkeeper. On the bench, I decided to have Spurs' third choice goalkeeper, which was Gazaniga. So there's literally nothing I could do. I was like, why have I picked the third choice goalie of Spurs as my backup goalie? It was absolute suicide. So I was just stuck with Ward. And in the end, I had to take some hits to fix the whole mess because I had so many problems going on elsewhere in the team. So this time around, I've probably got a bit too. I've gone over the top because I've got Flecken. And you will see when we come to the bench, I've also got a really strong goalkeeper there. But Flecken is in right now. I'm actually planning on if Harry Kane is still there, I'm planning on swapping out Flecken, but he's in my game week 1 draft right now. Defense, I didn't have Chilwell in my team until probably a week ago, and I've just been really impressed with Chelsea in preseason, and he's in there, and he's in my starting 11 right now as well. I don't care that they're playing Chelsea. That they're playing Liverpool. He's a left back, so he attacks down the right wing. Liverpool are weak down their right wing. On the left wing, you've got Robertson, who's a really good defender as well as attacker. But on the right hand side, even if Trent does play out there, he's not the greatest defender. So I think Chilwell down the left will just have quite a fun time against Liverpool. I don't know what the result will be, but there'll be goals. And I do fancy Chilwell. I don't think he'll get a clean sheet, but I think he'll get an assist. Gabriel next up, really easy fixture. Nottingham Forest at home. If that's not a clean sheet, 6 points and possibly some bonus points with Gabriel's, I'll be really surprised. Estepinian, everyone's got him. He's playing Luton at home. It's a bit of a no-brainer. I think I saw a stat that says of all the content creators on YouTube, I think something like 80-90% of people have got Estepinian in their team. He's just nailed on. Let's get to the midfield. Matoma, same reason as Estepinian, really. Playing Luton, Matoma looks great in pre-season. Picking up assists, playing really well. Next to him, Mbeumo. Everyone's got Mbeumo. We know he's not that expensive. We know that he is on penalties. We know that he's probably going to chip in with some points this season quite quickly. Saka is in there. He's my vice captain. Playing Forest, really easy fixture. Again, he looks sensational in pre-season. Can't see anything other than an assist or a goal for Saka, if not both. Next up is Foden. I believe in Foden this season quite strongly. I think he's going to be really, really key. Pep's got rid of some big names, the likes of Mahrez going, really opens up for Foden. If Easy comes in, then fine, but I still don't think he'll start over Foden. I think Foden's going to start. I think he's going to chip in with a load of points and goals. And then next to Foden is Bruno Fernandes. It's a bit of a tough choice. I still might change whether it might be Rashford or Fernandes. Right now, I'm just going with Bruno Fernandes because I haven't seen enough from Rashford in pre-season. Rashford hasn't scored, hasn't assisted, he hasn't really played too much. So Bruno Fernandes is in there ahead of him. And then up front, I'm going for 3-5-2. So I've got two up front. I've got Haaland because he's Haaland, no explanation needed. And next to him is Nkunku because I just really like what I've seen from Chelsea. I think Nkunku probably marginally will get more minutes than Jackson. I really like Jackson too. But right now, I'm thinking Nkunku, I think he will just play maybe slightly further forward. I just think he'll get more. He has more of a goal threat. Scored a ton of goals for Leipzig last season. I think it was 19 in 32 games last season. That's pretty strong form. I think he's a great goal scorer, and it's something that Chelsea haven't had. They didn't really have a goal scorer last season. So he's someone I think he'll be a focal point, and he's quick, he's strong, and he's really good at finisher. So perfect. Bench-wise, I spoke about my strong goalkeeper. I've got Johnston on the bench, him and Flecken. I'm kind of happy with this at the moment. Like, they can play and I can pick and choose. That's just because of last season being such a famine. I'm moved to a bit of a feast of goalkeepers, but maybe I'll choose a 4 million. If I see a transfer going through for somebody, and I think they might get some minutes, I'll probably pick a 4 million goalkeeper just to have that in the bank. But right now, Flecken and Johnston. Also on the bench, we've got Edouard. I think John also has Edouard up front as well. He's scoring a few goals in pre-season. They've got Sheffield away first game. I like that fixture. I like Edouard. I think Palace are going to do pretty well this season. He's not that expensive. He's 5.5, I think he is. Again, I've got some money to play with. I might change that before game week 1. Then my two defenders being Botman and Poe. I like Poe. I was really hoping that Manchester United were going to sign him, but they didn't. He's with Villa. He's got Unai Emery as a manager. I think Villa are going to be a real spice again this season. And Botman, just an amazing defensive record from last season. So that is my team.
So do you think Nkunku, are you going to start him against Liverpool, or do you think you're going to go Edouard instead?
No, I'm starting Nkunku v Liverpool. I think Liverpool will ship some goals.
Nkunku. He's on pens as well, Nkunku.
Yep.
Love that.
Brave. It's a brave man who bets against Liverpool.
Liverpool could win, but I think it will be 3-2, 4-3. I think it'll be a high-scoring game.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've talked about this before on the video that isn't coming out, but I mean, you've ditched Trent. Is that a ditching of Trent because of the money, or is that a ditching of Liverpool because their pre-season hasn't been up to snuff?
I'd say mainly the money.
Yeah.
It's got to be the money. He is playing. I think what we were hoping to see is like, yeah, he's going to play a midfield role. Yeah, he's going to get some goal. No, he is playing the central defensive midfielder role. He will sit back. He will be the guy again, another guy behind the guy. He might play fabulously well there, and he may even start for England there. Who knows? But in FPL terms, it just won't. It's just not worth it for us.
No.
It goes back to like the whole thing. Like no FPL player would have Keane or Vieira in their FPL side because their output is they're a great real world player, and maybe that's what Trent will end up being in that position, a great real world player, but he's not going to give us a point. So right now I can't gamble 8 million on the fact that he might get an assist or a goal here or there. I think it's just too risky.
Fair enough.
I think you're absolutely right. I think I could totally agree with all that. The Trent stuff is like, he's so expensive, and you need him to consistently banging in like 15 points to justify the gaps you're leaving elsewhere in your team, and because of the money you're putting into him. It's just too much. Like I just don't think it's a good strategy. Have you got him better?
No, I did have him, but he's gone. Same reasons for me, just the money. I mean, I'd love Trent to do well. I'd love him to score goals and get assists, but when he's the same price as a pretty decently priced midfielder, I don't see that happening in his first season in a midfield position, especially if he's playing defensive.
He's only 0.5 cheaper than Saka.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think we all agree Saka is underpriced. He is an absolute steal at 8.5. Bruno Fernandes 8.5. Foden is 7.5, and Trent is 8.
Yeah.
And I know I'm comparing him with midfielders, but if that's what we're saying, why we're picking him, that's why I'm comparing him with what I'm losing out on.
Yeah.
The ceiling's higher with Trent, though. Right? Like, if you think if you think about the amount of points that he'd be able to get, if you think about bonuses, clean sheets, attacking returns.
You get more points for a goalie.
His ceiling's higher than the likes of. But then you need him to consistently to be like scoring a goal a game, you know.
Yeah,
and he might do that, but like I need to see it before I. The problem is that if he does start slapping, that I won't be able to get him in my team because I won't be able to afford him. So.
But then I think so many other people will be in the same boat. I think when you look at the midfielders that everyone's picking, everyone picks an attacking midfielder. No one's going, I definitely want a defensive midfielder. I get the fact that you're picking a defender, but I'm sort of thinking about where do I lose out if I have him, and I might be able to squeeze him in. My team has got 2 million. This team I've got on paper has got 2 million in the bank.
Yeah,
and that feels like rather a lot to have in the bank, and I probably might I could probably afford to upgrade. I could upgrade Edouard to a different striker, but it's almost like, do I just keep my 2 million for game week 1, and then after game week 1, when everyone's like trying to figure out how do they get their exactly 100 million pound team, how do they make these moves? I've got a load of power to be able to move things around, and my team is not that bad for having 2 million in the bank.
Yeah, the difference with having Trent, I think we all found before, if you've got Trent in the team, you are on a flat 100 million. And that 100 million probably includes 1, maybe 2 risky players just to get Trent in the team. And I think having 2 million and avoiding having to make a double transfer to get rid of Trent and get somebody else in if Trent doesn't perform is so much more powerful. Even if Trent gets 5 points a game, that's still what you'd expect from another midfielder who you could afford for Trent. And there are going to be a lot of games where it's 1-1, Trent hasn't done anything and he doesn't get a clean sheet because he's a defender, and that 8 million all of a sudden looks pretty poorly spent. Whereas, like you say, that money elsewhere is a lot more sensible at that point.
And I am trying this season as hard as I can to not take as many hits as I did last season. Some of that was enforced by some of the worst injury luck that man has ever seen because he was just preposterous. people's heads coming off after 2 minutes is not what I was after. But I've got to.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
My bench is really strong and really flexible, and they all play. Whereas I know that a lot of other top managers are popping in a risky 4. But then to be fair, a lot of top managers are bringing in a 4 million Luton guy because they know he's going to play every week. Is he going to score 6 points every week? No, but when you need those, sometimes those extra 2 points here and there can really help.
Mm-hmm.
And it can mean, and also it can be the difference between needing to take a hit or not. And where I found myself last season was, some of it was bad luck, but definitely some of it was like just poor choices. I didn't do my research. I think I had I had a striker who was like, 4th choice striker. If you're going to bring in someone cheap, make sure that there's somebody that gets regular minutes for the team that they're playing for. And there's no harm in bringing in a 4 million player for Luton if they're going to be playing every week, because you're going to get a couple of points from it if you have to do an auto transfer. So that's the other thing of my bench right now is I've kind of got burned by last season, so I'm trying to sort of protect myself against that.
You're saying about
sorry, go.
No,
I was
go
just going to say, before we move on, that my first full season last season, I was kind of obsessed with getting up to like 99.9 or 100 million. And the idea of leaving 2 million as a headroom to just give you that sort of tactical space to move when shit hits the fan is just sounding very appealing to me, especially when you go, I've got 99.9 million, someone's injured, someone's not playing who I thought was going to play, and now I have to take a hit. And they do seem to like roll week after week when you're taking hits, so that you take a hit and it doesn't go right, and you just keep going. That idea of, as you said, Steve, you've got full starting 11 and bench that are going to play, and you've got the headroom to get yourself out of trouble and not be shipping points. Quite appealing. You never think about.
And that's why you'll see people like I can't remember the guy's name. A lot of people have this. There's this guy's name beginning with B. I think Alfred has him in his team, and he's like cheap, but he's going to play every week, every minute.
Oh, Bulldog.
Yeah, Bulldog. He's going to be there. Yeah. So it's that sort of thinking that I wasn't doing last season. It's just like what I was kind of doing was just like, and then I've got 4 million left, so guess that guy. Then it turns out that guy just he's not even like, he probably got loaned to some championship team or something. He doesn't even he's not even in the league anymore.
Yeah,
I was doing the same thing where I was like, that 4 million, who might score a goal for that 4 million? But really, you just want to look at minutes played. Like, what's the most minutes played I can get? So that's another little strategic application to do, I think.
Yeah, I think I've fallen into the pitfall before of thinking my third choice bench player never gets used. They never get auto transferred, so who cares if they're rubbish? But it's not about that. It's about weeks where you're not using all of your starting 11. Nobody's maybe injured, but you just want to rotate your team around and not make a transfer. And if you can't do that with a player on the bench, then you're going to miss out against managers who can. If you're subbing somebody out who has got injured for somebody who's getting 0, then obviously that's money not well spent. So it's good to have a full 15 who can do something for you if required.
And the thing is that those teams will score goals, and they will win the odd weird game. Luton can beat Manchester City because it's the Premier League. Anything weird stuff happens. They go down there, Luton win 1-0. Suddenly, your Luton guy that got auto subbed in gets 6 points from absolutely nowhere. That happens a lot, and so I think that's a really good thing that we should all be mindful of, and any player should be mindful of, is that it's fine to have a cheap player. Make sure it's a cheap player that plays regularly.
Yeah, and just talking about Luton pre-season quickly, they have not lost a game yet. They've drawn one, but they've scored 6 goals in 3 games. They're not necessarily the caliber of teams that some of the top Premiership teams are playing, but they are scoring goals, and they're untested against Premier League teams. You just never know what's going to happen. It's good to pick the right players, and it's good to not write off the teams that have just been promoted because they can score points. And we'll just have to wait and see.
Those taking hits become really contagious, like Jon said, and then before you know it, you've done 2 in a row. Where I got to at the end of last season when I was scoring regularly, really highly, and my bench was great. I was doing great rotation transfer. There were some weeks I was just like, I'm comfortable not making a transfer this week.
Yeah.
And then next week having 2 transfers, it feels like you've won the lottery. So I've got 2 free transfers. I can do whatever I want. It's amazing. It does really free you up to make those power moves at points where other managers around you are struggling.
Yeah. So just before we move on then, you were saying if Kane plays game week 1, you might think about Flecken. Have you got any immediate thoughts about an alternate goalkeeper for Flecken if that does happen?
Oh, literally. So yeah, because my bench goalie is Johnston of Palace. So I'll just swap those guys around. So if Flecken stays in the squad,
yeah,
Johnston comes in.
No need for a transfer.
No need for a transfer. No need for messing around. I literally just say, and I looked at it for like the next 5 game weeks, and it's just like, yeah, actually, I'd want that guy there, and then the next week I want him, and then the next week I want him.
Mm-hmm.
Just becomes this nice little sort of. It just gives you options rather than having Danny Ward conceding 10 goals in 2 games, and Gazaniga as your backup.
Right. Thanks, Steve. It's my turn then, I guess, if we're rotating around. I will take you through who I've gone for. I'm exactly the same. Drop Trent to free up some money, like we've said. And I've actually gone for, however cursed he is, Ederson in goal. I've only done this because I had so much money to play with, and 3 Arsenal players, which we'll get to. Ederson's the next expected goal points, game week 1 point scorer, and I had the money, so Ederson it is. I mean, he doesn't get a huge amount of saves because the team in front of him is so good, but I would say he's a pretty decent choice for the clean sheets, and at the moment that's who I'm going for. In defence, very similar to what everybody else is saying, we've got Gabriel from Arsenal, very easy few set of fixtures. I think at the moment he is 3rd or 4th in the expected game week 1 points. Zinchenko is slightly ahead of him, but ahead of Zinchenko we've got Estepinian, who I've also got, just like everybody else, and Shaw in the back 3 for Man United playing against Wolves. Shaw I'm not so sure about. Everybody's jumping ship and going to Chilwell. And not just because I'm a Liverpool supporter, I'm dubious about Chelsea, especially against Liverpool. Who knows what that scoreline is going to be? Like Steve said, it could be 3-3, 4-3, whatever. There could be a lot of goals. Chilwell could get some points, but are they going to be maximum points? Are they going to be the same points that Shaw might see against Wolves, which is a lot easier fixture? I'm not so sure about that.
Sure.
So Shaw has stayed in the team. Sure. Midfield, we've got Mitoma, Rashford, Saka, Odegaard, and Eze. Very similar looking midfield to everybody else here. I think in terms of Arsenal players, I've gone, rather than the Ramsdale in goal like some people have gone for, I've gone for the double Arsenal midfield of Saka and Odegaard. I think in terms of midfielders, they're going to pick up some points against Nottingham Forest. They've got 3 really easy fixtures, followed by Man United in week 4. And I'm hoping they're just going to be bags of points in the midfield. Eze for Crystal Palace. I mean, if he goes to Man City, that's no skin off my nose as long as he plays. I've not got 3 Man City players at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see on that. City have a lot nicer fixtures than Crystal Palace, but that first game against Sheffield, I mean, I could see Eze scoring or assisting or picking up 5 or 6 points, no problem. He's also the same price as Mbeumo, so I think, I know it's bad planning to book in transfers without knowing what's going on. But with Eze being the same price as Mbeumo, it looks like an easy pick to swap him out game week 2 when the Brentford fixtures get a lot easier following Tottenham. Up front, we've got Ferguson and Haaland. I've actually, I think I've got Haaland selected as captain. On the screen I'm looking at, it's Ferguson. But yeah, Haaland probably perma-captain this season. Ferguson is looking like a nice, easy 3 games to him. I've actually got 500,000 left in the bank after getting rid of Trent, so Ferguson could be an easy swap also to Alvarez if necessary. And that will give me my full 3 Man City players, depending on what happens with Eze. And then on the bench, we've got Flecken. I've gone overpowered in the goalkeeper department here. Just like I say, I had the money to do it, so why not? Ederson and Flecken can easily rotate in between the 2 of them. Never think about goalkeepers again for the rest of the season, if necessary. And if I want to, later on, potentially with a wild card, swap those out if they're not doing well and have a move around of the money. We've got Mings in defence. He's got a tough game against Newcastle, but then he's got a couple of easy games. He can be easily rotated in. Botman, as Steve said, he's got for the money, great expected points for the whole season. Last season he played really, really well. Just so cheap at 4.5 million. I think it's just a good pick, not just for a bench player, but for, the sum total of the season. He can just sit in the team and enjoy a load of points whenever he gets rotated in. And then at the moment we've got for himself. At the moment we've got Wissa on the bench. Wissa is the Brentford striker in lieu of Tony. And barring the Tottenham game, like we've said, Brentford have a lot of easy games coming up, and the path should be open for Wissa to score some goals. Now, depending on what happens with Mbeumo, I think Mbeumo is on the set pieces, pretty much all of the important set pieces, if not all of them. So will Wissa pick up as many points as Mbeumo? I don't know, but if Eze does get transferred for Mbeumo, then you've got both options banging in all the goals for Brentford potentially.
I was going to say, I heard that there's a chance that Mbeumo is on pens. Sorry, that Wissa's on pens.
Wissa's on pens.
Yeah, no, Mbeumo took the pen the other day, but Wissa wasn't on the pitch. So there is still a question mark about that.
Okay.
It could be either, but we're not going to know that until game week 1. But I think Mbeumo is going to be taking them. So there is still a little bit of risk there. Yeah, but I mean, if you've got both of them after Tottenham, if they're both playing, obviously, then you're covered for the set pieces as well. Wissa is only 6 million, whereas Mbeumo is 6.5. Yeah, it's a good gamble, I think. At the moment, the only person who makes me feel slightly uncomfortable in my team is Ferguson, only because I don't know anything about the man. I feel like I'd rather have a striker who's risky in the newspapers. It's definitely risky to have him.
I think so. He's got a good fixture in Luton.
Yeah.
And he did score some goals last season. But yeah, I think he's a bit of a minutes risk. He started a lot of games towards the end of the season, and didn't. I think he scored. I think I had him towards the end of the season. He got a couple of goals in one game week, and I felt pretty good about that. But there was about 4 or 5 game weeks where he did absolutely nothing. Subbed off, and that guy Undav was coming on and scoring goals, as was Enciso.
Yeah,
Enciso is actually a midfielder in FPL, but yeah, he was coming on for Ferguson and scoring goals. So I think that could be something that might need to be looked at.
So Ferguson expected minutes is 61 for the next 8 game weeks.
So he's
and his expected points are 27.6. If you think about
so he's coming out 59 minutes.
Yeah.
Substitution, killing your extra appearance point.
Yeah.
And Brighton just have so many decent attackers, a bit risky. Like, even like Welbeck, right? Is Welbeck still there?
Welbeck is still fit and firing and scoring
decent,
goals. Yeah, he's always been a good finisher. And he's got Matoma. Where does João Pedro play? Because is he not a striker as well?
Yeah, he's a striker.
So he's a new signing. They splashed a bit of money on him. He looks like he's got a bit of pedigree. So I think Ferguson could be a bit of a risky pick.
Yeah.
Your other risky pick for me as well, I think, is Ederson.
Yeah.
It's the Ederson curse. He was the 10th highest scoring. Actually, I guess De Gea is not in this list. So he was the 11th highest scoring goalkeeper last season, and he's 5.5 mil.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a nailed clean sheet. And he doesn't get any save points. Pickford got 3 more points than him last season.
Pickford. I think also Man City defense. Who's going to be playing? Gvardiol's coming in.
Gvardiol's just been signed today.
You got Pep Roulette, and you've got just won the treble kind of burnout, which I think is a phenomenon. When Liverpool had it, lots of teams have it when they go on a big run like that through multiple cups and leagues at the same time. I think those early games for City, I think they'll still win, but yeah, you've got new defensive strategy, new centre back, maybe a bit of burnout, maybe, I don't know, Pep's probably the best in the world at motivating players, even when they've won 7 out of 8 leagues or whatever it is. But I just think there's a bit of a risk that the sort of City defence isn't.
I think he falls into that great player. You'd have him in your team.
Yeah.
But would you have him in your fantasy team? Probably not. No, because he's a really good goalkeeper for your actual team. For your fantasy team, he doesn't get save points. He doesn't get bonus points, and he's started to get less clean sheets. There were so many games they won 3-1, 4-1. I'm thinking Johnston, Leno. You could even go for. Can you go for Ramsdale? No, you've gone for 3. Have you got 3 outfield?
Yeah, I've got 3 Arsenal players.
Yeah, I think I like Fleck, and I think. Yeah, how much money have you got in the bank?
500,000. But Ederson could go for any other goalkeeper. Yeah. And like I said, I was thinking my 500,000 would go for Ferguson to Alvarez. But then, yeah, if you're moving out Ederson for pretty much any other goalkeeper, you have more cash in the bank at that point. Do we know? I did have Steele as my second goalkeeper for quite a long time. Do we know what's happening with the transfer with Steele, or do we know what happens, or do we know what's happening with the Brighton goalkeeper at the moment? Have they made any decisions? Has there been any news?
I heard Sanchez is actually someone's looking at Sanchez. Yeah, Chelsea. That's right. Yeah.
Sanchez.
So Steele's probably going to be starting for Brighton.
I think Steele is nailed now. And I saw him in pre-season. He's making some good saves. Yeah, I can't see them moving away from Steele now. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ederson again. Look, if he was delivering, when you look on this list from last season, Alisson is 5.5 as well.
Yeah.
And he was number 2 on the point scoring list. Because actually Alisson has to weigh in with some saves as well, because the defense of Liverpool is not as good as City. So yeah, Alisson. If you really want a pricey goalie and you support Liverpool, then Alisson's your man. But I think the feeling. I think John, who were your goalkeepers again?
I've got Ramsdale and Leno.
So 5. Leno of Fulham, so 4.5. I can't remember who else got. I think he's gone for Flecken and another cheap one, Alfred. I know you've got some random guy for 4 mil, haven't you, at the moment?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But if potentially if Steve's not playing for Brighton, if Steele is nailed, I could steal for Ederson and Alvarez for Ferguson, because then I'd have too many Brighton players, and then I'd actually go up in cash in the bank value to 1 million. Did we? Oh, Steve, you've got Alvarez on the bench, so you're preferring Nkunku to start off with.
Yeah, I haven't got Alvarez anymore. Not at the moment. I've moved over to Team Nkunku.
Team Nkunku, fair enough. Yeah, so maybe I'll have a think about my goalkeeper, but City have so many easy games to start off with. I mean, Newcastle.
When he gets a clean sheet, saves a penalty, and scores a free kick in game week 1, we'll all be feeling pretty silly.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't expect Burnley to put many past Man City game week 1, would you?
No, 2-0 Burnley. I'm saying it now.
Fair enough. Right, so there we go. That's me. And last up is Team Birthday.
Okay, so in goal, I've gone for Onana. John actually helped me get into my team a little bit earlier, but yeah, Onana in goal. I had Flecken for a bit, but I've just decided I want United defence, and sure, it's not going to fit in for me, so I think it makes sense for me to do that. I also don't really know whether or not Brighton are going to be any good defence-wise, so I think Onana is like the way I want to go. It's just 0.5 more as well, so it just makes sense for me to do that. I feel better about my team in that sense. And then pretty template in defence, Estepinian, everyone's got him, Gabriel from Arsenal, and then I got Chilwell as well, so 3 in defence. Chilwell's a bit of a no-brainer, I think, as per what Steve was saying. I feel pretty good about him pre-season, and I've always really liked him as well as a player. Like past 2-3 years, he's been one of my favourite Premier League players. I just think he's awesome. He just is so attacking, and he's all right in defence as well. So I think that makes sense to do that. I did have someone else in that place last week. Chilwell's a bit of a new addition. Anyway, and then in midfield, I've gone a little bit turbo. So I've got Bruno, I have Rashford, I have Saka, I have Martinelli, and Mbeumo. I really like that midfield a lot. I am tempted to go for a Grealish or a Foden, but I think, as I said earlier, I think if I was going to get one of them, I'd need to get both of them just to feel a bit more at ease. I have some reservations about Martinelli because of Trossard. But I think Martinelli will start, and he's just an awesome FPL asset. So I really like having him. So I'm kind of hedging bets somewhat on United and Arsenal, but I like that. So I was toing and froing between getting Rashford or Bruno, and I was like, I'm just going to get them both in. I think it makes sense to do that. I think that Bruno and Steve, you might be able to help out here. I think Bruno and Rashford, it depends who got the pen. I think if Rashford draws the foul for a penalty, he takes it or something. Is that how it works at United at the moment, or is it strictly Bruno on pens? Do we know?
The instruction is that it's Bruno on pens. What happens on the field might not always follow that, but the instruction is that it's Bruno Fernandes is on penalties. Whether Rashford grabs the ball because he's the one who's been fouled and then smashes it in, could happen. But the instruction is Bruno.
Yeah. So that's good. I'm happy with that. I am also tempted to do something a bit weirder, like getting Maddison instead of Martinelli. I've been thinking about that, but again, I do like the idea of having both Saka and Martinelli in my midfield. And then up front, I am going Haaland and Nkunku. I was thinking about Nico Jackson. He looks really good pre-season, and the rumor there's a Chelsea fan in my office, and he was telling me that he's playing in front of Nkunku. So the plan is for them to play both, with Nkunku playing a little bit behind. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but I think there's just a little bit of risk with Nico Jackson, and I think Nkunku is just a little bit more of a safe bet, and my understanding is that he's also on pens. So I made that decision. I did have 1.5 mil in the bank 24 hours ago, but after doing the Onana change and the Nkuku change, I have 0.5. And then this actually, as of this evening, given me a rating of 95% on Fantasy Football Hub, so I feel pretty good about that first team. Then on the bench, I've got Bentley, backup goalkeeper, Semenyo as a forward, just 4.5 mil. I've got Rico Henry from Brentford, 4.5 mil, and then Baldock, 4 mil. So the bench isn't looking that strong, and I could upgrade one of those if I needed. I do like having a bit more of a stronger bench, but I feel pretty good with that team. I don't think it will change too much before game week 1, unless something happens. But there's a lot of 3 Arsenal players, 3 United players. Feel good about that. I only have 1 City player, which isn't the best, but I think I'll see how they start playing, and if Foden starts and Grealish starts, I'll probably look at one of those 2 to bring in as a change. But that's about it for me.
So I know we briefly touched on it before, but can you give me the skinny on Baldock on the bench? Was he a budget choice, or is he
he's a bit of both? Yeah,
bit of a rogue target.
I heard that I think he got 3 assists last season in the Championship or something like that. He's quite, and 3's not that much, is it? But I just hear he's quite attack minded, and he's 4 mil, like nailed on starter. So if I look at predicted points, he's actually not far down. He's not. I think he might be in like top 25 or something for defenders for predicted points. So he's just nailed on essentially. He's third on my bench, so he probably won't get many games. But I'll see how he is, and if he starts doing things, then I'll just start playing him perhaps. But yeah, more of a cost saver.
Yeah, fair enough.
Who is Bentley, and does he play?
So Bentley does play. I'll just get my team up here.
What is he? Wolves? Is he Wolves? New keeper? No.
Yeah, he's Wolves. Yeah, Wolves. I heard a rumor that he's going to be starting for Wolves
instead of Jose Sarr.
Yes. I'll try and find. There's been some rumors that he's going to be starting. But that might be one that I make a change on, actually. Like, it could be... It's more of a placeholder, I think.
I think my bench
could change a little bit.
If you can find a 4 million goalkeeper who plays every week, then, it's a really nice thing to have, to just bring those on if you need them.
Yeah.
And then your other... I think Henry on the bench is absolutely fine. We know. I think at some point we all had Henry in our team, in our starting 11, towards the end of last season, because Brentford was just so consistent. He done really well. It was Henry, Pinnock. Was it Pinnock?
Yeah,
Henry,
yeah.
Pinnock, and Ben Mee.
Ben Mee,
were just outstanding. And
Bear's favourite. Bear loves Ben Mee.
Yeah,
everyone had one of them.
Yeah, I never went for Henry because Ben Mee did so well for me. But yeah, I mean, the Brentford defence was just unbelievable, especially towards the end of the season, like you say.
Also, those players where, and it's always like defenders, where if they like kick the ball or do something good, the whole stadium goes moo. It's always really satisfying. So Huth had that at Chelsea, where we go Huth. And I just love those defenders where they just do a header or something and everyone just goes mental for them. Anyway, a little bit off piece there, but I'm a big fan of Ben Mee for that reason.
Then Semenyo, is he? He's cheap.
Just cheap.
Does he play?
Yeah,
and does he play every week? Is this?
Yeah, he does. He does play for
cheap
Bournemouth.
So he's cheap. He might get the odd goal or assist here or there.
Yeah, I think that my bench could change a little bit. First team I feel really good about, but yeah, those guys are just kind of cost savers at the moment. And normally I do prefer to have like a strong bench. I did that last year, and that did help. So Yeah, I got to do a little bit of thinking, but I'm feel pretty good about my first team. But Semenyo and Bentley are definitely two that I'm thinking about.
Very nice.
Good.
So, do we want to say what our aims are this season? Are we hoping to beat our last season's ranks? Are we hoping to get above a certain rank? What do we want to get? Do we want to beat everybody else in the FPL community in the mini league? Is that what we do?
The goal's to win it. The goal's to win it, right?
Win it all.
I think the goal is to win it. I need to win my work league. I was a long way short of first, but I got narrowly pipped to second, which really hurt. So I finished I finished in the top 300,000. No, sorry, yeah, I was in the 290s. I was like 295 last season. Yeah. Which is the best I've ever done. So I'd like to go a little bit better. I'd like to be under 200,000. If I can be under 200,000, I'd be really happy with that. But judging by the catalogue of mistakes I made, like having Spurs goalie, I don't know, is he even at Spurs anymore? Who knows? He might just still be at Spurs, but now he works in accounts payable now. He wasn't even a goalie. I had Spurs' accounts payable supervisor on the bench last season. So if I can not do stuff like that, not take so many hits, be a bit more conservative with my transfer policy, be a bit more sensible with my research, I think there's every chance of finishing inside that. Of getting under the 200,000 mark.
What about you?
For me, it's under. Yeah, so I think I'm just trying to look for my rank actually from last year, and I can't seem to find it. Does anyone know how to? Oh yeah, I found it. So 74,000 was my rank. So that's pretty. 74,097. So I'd like to get under 50,000. I think that's like a realistic target, but I think I said on the chat the other day, like Dream World would be under 10,000. I'd be super happy with that.
100%, yeah. In the top 10,000 would be Dream World, but I'm being realistic. I think 150 to 200 for me. Under 50k for Alf would be also really, really good. Jon and Bear, was it both of your first season last season?
Yeah, I'd never touched FPL before last year.
Yeah, I know you've touched
Jon's second.
I'd touched it, but I didn't. I think I quit in January in the COVID cancellation stuff in the first season.
That's true.
But,
did you?
Yeah. I never carried on. Yeah, but last year I still didn't know the rules and definitely wasn't pressing confirm. And as I kept banging on about, I spent 50 points on transfers in the first 4 weeks.
I forgot that. Yeah.
Someone was like, the top players get like over 3,500 or something like that points. And I was like, oh well, so spending like 50 points a week isn't going to affect anything.
Yeah.
But I won't do that anymore. And I didn't appreciate some of the, I just used bench boost just to get past Bear in like 1 week. Didn't save it for a double game week or anything like that. So there's all these little strategic extras. But having said all that, I think I'll just go for scoring 1 point more than last year would be my.
No, come on! I think you're gonna. This year, you're not gonna. If there is ever a game week where you haven't pressed confirm, I will come to your house, and I'll press it for you. But look, that could be a contingency that we have really. If we're not competing against each other, I might just have to give you my login and say I cannot get to a computer. Please press confirm.
We're all in it together, that's for certain. It's FPL or Wildcard FPL against the world, as far as I'm concerned. I think it's last season I got to, I think it was 800 and something thousand, dipped under the million in the last 2 or 3 game weeks with a couple of good weeks.
Nice.
I'd like to beat last season. I think knowing the rules, maybe I won't use my wild card in game week 2. There might be a good start for this season. But I think I've picked, even with Edison in the team, I think I've picked a good enough team to get me through 1 game week. So hopefully I won't have to do that this time. But Dream World, I'd like to get under 500,000. that would be a good improvement for me. If I can play every game week, knowing what I'm doing, I feel like that should be doable. There was definitely some big gaffes last season, so we'll just have to see how we end up.
And it was tricky because I wanted you to do well, but I didn't want you to catch me and beat me. So it was tricky because it's just like, do I tell him not to do that? I think you did your free hit on like game week 5, and you were like, I was 2 chips down up like before the World Cup.
I was very, very quickly into the chips. I didn't really appreciate how important they were. I thought they were just, this week's a good week to use it.
Right.
And yeah, never having encountered a double game week before, I had no idea what was going on. But this time, maybe I'll wait 2 weeks before playing one this time.
Yeah, you've got to be looking for look, as now a serious player, right? There's always, how many people played the game? Anyone know? Was it 11 million last season? 10 million?
11 million, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
It started out at 9 million on game week 1, I think, and then grew
5 million of those will give up after 3 game weeks because they'll just be like, oh, I forgot to press the thing. Oh, I don't care. So being under 800,000 or and I think being under 500,000 is a good target for both probably you and John. Where were you, John?
I literally have no idea. Not sure.
You can check if you want to take a look at it. If you go to go to pick team, and then on the right hand side you can see. Oh shit! How did I get there?
Game week.
There we go.
Game week history.
Oh yeah, 2 million.
Yeah, that's it.
2,200,000.
John, that's the main.
That's mine. Are you looking at mine?
Yeah, that's yours. Yeah.
Oh,
He's worth more than 2 million. He's gonna be like, that's 2 million, missing about, of the 38 deadlines, missing 10 of them, probably. Spending 50 points in game week 1, doing a lot of other crazy shit.
Yeah, I can maximize some stuff. I can get a few. I can get a few hundred more points just by playing the game properly. So, yeah.
Okay, you guys are in the under 500,000 club. I'm in the under 200k club, and Alfred's in the 50k club.
Let's do it. I mean, let's all do as well as we can. That's the plan.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not going to get to 195,000 and go, right, let's take a 12-point hit.
I've got the headroom. Yeah. Well, if you wanna compete against us, we'll put the link to the Wildcard FPL Community Mini-League in the description below, and you can jump on in there. At the moment, there's only the 4 of us, so you've got a pretty good chance of finishing inside the top 10 at least.
I will be, and I think we'll start sharing that across socials in the next, as we get closer to the deadline. We'll start sharing that out.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only thing left to say is thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this steamy hot football content, make sure to subscribe and check out next week for another video on Wildcard FPL.